escort him out. Please stop for just a minute, Trevor, if you don't mind. I'd like you to note that he's walking on his own. If you could roll that just slightly, Trevor. Just a little, go rewind just a little bit. Okay, thank you. Now come forward. Now watch his legs. He's moving. He's on his own. He's propelling himself. He's standing upright. He now walks into an area, and he's still, look at him. Stop right there. Okay. Go back real quick, Trevor. I'm sorry. It goes very fast, so I'm trying to help you see what we've seen. Okay, good. Keep going. Now he's walking into another area. Stop right there. Thanks, Trevor. And you'll see he's standing upright. On his legs are strong, it appears. He's on his feet. And now they disappear. Okay, Trevor, we can keep moving. Hold it right there, if you wouldn't mind. I wanted you to see that. I apologize for going off script there for a minute. But I wanted you to see what we see, and that is that there are no visible signs of distress, and there is no visible incident occurring there. And one would normally expect to see Ingram arrive, because what they're doing is they're taking him to the Sallyport area, along with all the other inmates, to be transported. However, that's not what happens. We believe that the FDLE investigation has developed sufficient evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Ingram was beaten out of the line of sight of the institution where there were no surveillance cameras. And as can be seen from this next video, if you just wait 1 second, Trevor, can you start that second video? I'm going to step away for a minute. Excuse me. Okay, just keep your eyes right inside the circle there. But you see two officers escorting him out. And just pay attention to his walking condition. And slowly we're going to take, that's another angle. Can you, okay, stop right there for a second. And we're going to have that roll back, but I want to point out these two gentlemen with the stripes on, they're not correctional officers, I'm told, that they are other inmates that are following them to go in that same transport van, okay? So can you roll it back just a little bit, Trevor, please? Okay, now you see him there. Watch his feet. Okay, Trevor, you can move forward. Officers are holding him up on either side. He's completely dependent. It appears to be that he's dependent on them. You can move forward, Trevor. Do you see his legs kind of dragging there? The other inmates are all walking on their own. They're upright. No one's helping them. And then the final officer. It appears to us, to the agents, to the prosecutors who have looked at this, that Ingram was no longer able to walk under his own power, that he was virtually being carried to the transport van and loaded in. One witness recalled hearing another correctional officer say that Graham would never throw urine on another correctional officer again. And sadly, we know that statement was absolutely true. When the van arrived at 10:30 a.m., remember he left around 3:30 a.m., Ingram is found dead in the van. The medical examiner concluded that Ingram died from blunt force trauma injuries from an assault. His numerous broken ribs had a punctured right lung that caused extensive internal bleeding, resulting in his death. The death was classified as a homicide by the medical examiner. Just to refresh your memory, in the state of Florida, pursuant to state statute, it's the medical examiner. The medical examiner is the entity responsible for legally determining the cause of death. So based on their findings in this case, and since the medical examiner classified this as a homicide, we are able to file the criminal charges we present here today. Today, we are charging former correctional officers from the Dade Correctional Institution in connection with Ronald Jean death the following. They face, and you'll see up on the screen, the charges, I think, hopefully, is 28-year-old Jeremy Lee Godbolt, who was taken into custody just moments ago. 24-year-old Ronald Connor, 29-year-old Christopher Rowland, and 34-year-old Kirk Walton. They are all being charged with 1 count murder in the 2nd degree, 1 count conspiracy to commit murder in the 2nd degree, 1 count aggravated battery on an elderly or disabled person, 1 count conspiracy to commit aggravated battery on an elderly or disabled person, and 1 count employee of the Department of Corrections committing a battery and or inflicting cruel or inhumane treatment causing great bodily harm. 1 count of conspiracy by an employee of the Department of Corrections committing a battery and or inflicting cruel or inhumane treatment causing great bodily harm. Our system of justice demands that those who are part of the law enforcement community clearly recognize their roles and their individual duties. One can never enforce the law when one is breaking the law. These charges today reinforce those extremely important beliefs. My team, in working with the agents on this case and with the Department of Corrections on this case, we will prosecute these officers under due process, but to the fullest extent of the law. So with that, I would like to now introduce our Secretary of the Florida Department of Corrections. We appreciate you being here, Mr. Secretary, Ricky Dixon.
Thank you, Attorney. Good afternoon. First, let me say there's just no words to express my absolute disappointment in the staff members involved in this incident. Based on the facts presented today, these men violated public trust, and they violated the trust of those that work alongside of them. This department is made up of over 24,000 decent, hardworking, professional men and women who do a remarkable job in the interest of public safety. They do not deserve to have their reputations and their agency tarnished by criminal acts such as this. From the very moment we became aware of this incident, our full attention has been on evaluating staffing, leadership, and operations at Dade Correctional Institution. And I will take just a few minutes to share action items we've taken thus far. First, we removed all individuals that could have potentially been involved in the case that we knew of from the facility and placed them on administrative leave. Upon becoming aware of this incident, I immediately traveled to Dade Correctional Institution along with other members of leadership just to personally spend time on the ground, assessing the facility and identifying any areas of concern. Upon my request, the Office of the Inspector General has temporarily assigned law enforcement inspectors to every shift at Dade, and I'd like to thank Inspector General Kenneth Sumter for his assistance in that effort. Now, although I have full confidence in Warden Jason Hoskins, who was sent there recently prior to this incident to address management concerns, we have relocated Warden Ronnie Quinn from West Florida to Dade CI. He's one of our most respected wardens in our system, and I have no doubt he will address any staffing or operational issues. We've temporarily assigned high-level leaders from facilities around the state to shadow supervisors at Dade on all shifts and provide operational and staffing feedback. Also, we've relocated several mid-level personnel from Dade and replaced them with supervisors from other facilities. Also, every officer at Dade CI went through additional mandatory use of force and ethics training, and that's over and above what is expected of them annually. Deputy Secretary Richard Comerford personally led and oversaw a large portion of that training. And finally, we closed additional housing units and reduced the inmate population at Dade just to temporarily alleviate any staffing challenges. And these are just a few of the action items we've taken thus far. I can tell you I stand here today as a partner with our law enforcement colleagues and as a testament to the gravity of this case and the charges being presented today. I am committed to running an agency that ensures a safe and professional environment for our staff, state offenders, and inmates. As I've said before, I will be unwavering in my support for staff who perform their jobs with integrity, but we will continue to ensure that those who do not are separated from us, terminated, or prosecuted as applicable, just as we're doing in this case. And in closing, finally, I would like to just thank State Attorney Catherine Fernandez-Rundell, our partners at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and the Office of the Inspector General for their swift action in this case. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. And at this time, we'll hear from our Regional Director from FDLE, Troy Walker.
Thank you, Ms. Rundle. As Ms. Rundle stated, my name is Troy Walker. I'm the Special Agent in charge of the Miami Regional Operations Center. And unfortunately, my colleague, Special Agent in charge, Matt Walsh, he runs our Jacksonville region. He was unable to attend today. However, I do have present with me Special Agent Supervisor Mike O'Neill and also Special Agent Garrett Carlisle, who was actually the case agent on this investigation. FDLE Miami is one of 7 regional offices statewide. And while we often work together, this case in particular, we took immediate collaborative effort to take action on this crucial investigation immediately. We began this investigation back in February 14th at the request of the Department of Corrections. And as Ms. Rundle mentioned, the victim was beaten at a prison in Miami-Dade County, but was discovered deceased in Ocala, Florida, which is part of the Jacksonville region's area of responsibility. When the investigative request came in from DLC, agents from both Miami and Jacksonville went to work on this major case. Our agents left no stone unturned. They conducted a very thorough and complete investigation in a rather short period of time. FDLE members assigned to this investigation from both Miami and Jacksonville have lived and breathed this investigation and nothing else. Over the last 2.5 months, FDLE agents and analysts have worked more than 1,700 hours on this investigation. When someone unexpectedly dies, it's understandable that there are a lot of questions. That's especially true when it's an in-custody death. It is important that our citizens understand the amount of time, dedication FDLE devotes to these types of investigations. Agents in both Miami and Jacksonville interviewed more than 45 people, wrote more than 75 investigative reports, served 5 search warrants and 4 subpoenas. Our role is to determine exactly what happened and provide this information to Ms. Rundle's office, who will determine, and in this case, determine what charges to bring forward. I know I speak for all of us today when I say ensuring justice for the victim and his family is our top priority. Let this case be an example of fairness, impartiality under the law, that regardless of who you are or your position in life, justice is served. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Okay, at this point, we'll open it up to questions in English, and then we're going to break down very quickly and go to Spanish. And so, questions in English? Willard.
State Attorney, I know how difficult this is for you on a day like this for our law enforcement community. Can you talk again, and you've spoken about this, about the duty that Mr. Gibson's officers have in the care and custody of these people and their responsibility in spite of what may have precipitated this? And I would like him to also comment on that, about character and training being paramount for a person in one of these positions.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, a person, by law, goes to a court, and there's a case that's presented, and if that person is found guilty, the punishment could be imprisonment. But it doesn't mean that you've lost all your other basic rights. You may have lost your freedom, for at least for the time being, depending on the sentence, because you may be a danger to others. But you still have basic human rights under the law and under the Constitution. And especially when you are vulnerable in the sense that if you have a certain condition, this gentleman did. And so the care and custody and basic human rights never leave a person. So I'm now going to let the secretary give you his response.
Yeah, regardless of the crime, inmates that come in our system have a right to do their time free from victimization and abuse, and we failed in this case, and we're extremely disappointed. Inmates are sent to prison as punishment, not for punishment within the system, and again, we failed and deeply regret that this incident occurred.
Can you address some of Mr. Walker wants to? It appears of those 45 people, I think the bulk of them will be your employees. Their honesty about coming forward and talking to agents about what they saw and being truthful about it.
That's a great question, and I'll tell you how proud I am of the majority of our staff. We interact hundreds of thousands of hours a day, interactions between staff and inmates. Often those interactions involve provocation from the inmates, and the vast majority of the time our staff get it right, and they are professional. Unfortunately, in this case, that did not occur, but I really appreciate you pointing that out, because we absolutely have a vast number of professional staff who do this job very well.
Any other questions? Oh, yes. Hi. You know, I don't know specifically, but I know that he went through the court system, and so he was in front of a judge, and I presume he was determined to be competent to stand trial. He did stand trial. He was convicted and sentenced. So all of that would have been considered by the trial court, whether it was just trying the case in terms of was he competent enough to proceed, understanding, and or the sentence itself. Does anybody have any? Yeah. Yes.
Miami Herald. Can you tell us more about the transfer? It's my understanding that someone above the ranking officer has to approve that. Can you tell us more about the higher ranking officials who were involved in that transfer and what repercussions they might be facing as a result of this?
Sure, there's higher levels involved in the authorization of the transport as far as the mechanics of it and carrying out the operations. A officer at the rank of captain is the highest rank on duty, and that is the highest level of leadership that was present that we understand at this moment at the time of the incident.
So one technical aspect. Were these 4 officers now charged? Were they the ones that actually did the transport, or was there some handoff, or can you elaborate on this?
I'll defer to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement regarding any specific roles. It is my understanding that they were not actually involved in the transport, but I will defer the specifics to the Department of Law Enforcement.
Okay, there being no other questions, can we do a quick breakdown and go to Spanish?
Actually, one
Oh, I'm sorry, David.
This is Dave with the Miami Herald as well. There was 4 officers charged. There was a bunch of other officers that were relieved of duty. Are there any other disciplines, firings, anything you can talk about for the people who were not charged that may have acted appropriately or against internal policies?
Sure, thank you for the question. I would assume so. We do not have all the facts at this time. The way this works is we go through the criminal investigative portion of the investigation. If there are more staff members that are prosecuted criminally, we'll deal with that. If not, we will revert to an administrative investigation, and then we'll take any internal action based on that administrative investigation.
Anything else, David? Sorry, I cut you off. I didn't see you there. Anything else? Okay. In English, we'll break down and we'll go quickly to Spanish. Do you even, thank you. You don't speak Spanish. Okay, I'm just checking.